The station's silence had a different feeling now. It was no longer empty and cold. It held a quiet warmth, the kind that comes from trust and companionship. Ethan moved through the corridors, his boots clanking softly, and Lyra floated close behind, her small wings twitching lightly. Her soft glow lit their path, casting shadows along the metal walls. She seemed lighter, more confident, as if the trust from the previous night had given her courage. They returned to the communications array, now functioning but still unstable in some areas. Ethan knelt beside a control panel, running diagnostics. Sparks occasionally flickered from old wiring, and the hum of the station's machinery filled the room. Lyra watched intently, her eyes reflecting the tiny flashes of light. "Why do humans fix things instead of replacing them?" she asked, tilting her head. "On my planet, we often discard old machines. You, humans, are patient." Ethan smiled. "We try to make what we have last. Sometimes it's better than building something new. It saves resources, and sometimes you learn more about how it works." Lyra's glow pulsed softly, her version of a smile. "You are clever, patient, brave. I like that," Ethan chuckled. "Thanks, Lyra. I like your curiosity. You notice things most people miss." They worked together throughout the day, testing circuits, rerouting power, and sealing leaks in the station's systems. Ethan noticed small things about Lyra: how she floated closer when he reached for tools, how she instinctively adjusted her wing positions to avoid collisions, and how her tiny fingers moved quickly over the delicate wiring. Her intelligence and adaptability impressed him more than any machine he had repaired. As the day went on, the station's automated temperature system began to fail again. Alarms beeped softly, warning of dropping pressure and falling heat. Ethan froze for a moment, glancing at the monitors. "We've got a problem," he said calmly but firmly. Lyra's glow intensified with concern. "What is it?" she asked. "The environmental controls are failing," Ethan explained. "If we don't fix this quickly, parts of the station could become dangerous. The air will thin, and the temperature will drop sharply." Lyra's small body shivered at the thought. "Then we must hurry," she said, her voice quivering slightly. "I do not tolerate cold for long." Ethan nodded. "Let's move." They rushed through the corridors, Ethan carrying a toolkit while Lyra floated ahead, her glow illuminating the path. The temperature dropped faster than he expected, frost forming on metal surfaces. The hum of the station became a low groan as machinery struggled against the cold. Ethan worked quickly, rerouting power and patching damaged conduits. Every moment counted. Lyra proved invaluable. She was small enough to slip into narrow vents and access panels Ethan couldn't reach. Her bioluminescence allowed him to see in the dim emergency lighting, and she guided him toward critical points that needed immediate attention. Together, they became a seamless team: human ingenuity and alien adaptability, working in unison. At one point, a section of the station's outer wall began losing pressure. Ethan grabbed his helmet, signaling Lyra to stay close. "We'll need to seal this from the inside," he said. Lyra's wings twitched nervously. "I can help," she said, "but the cold. I cannot survive long." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then we'll do it quickly. Stay close to me." He opened the panel, exposing cold air rushing in from outside. The metal glinted dangerously under the flickering lights. Lyra hovered beside him, her glow bright, almost blinding in the dim environment. Together, they inserted a sealant device, Ethan guiding the placement while Lyra activated the controls with precise gestures. The vent hissed and clicked as the air pressure normalized. When the system stabilized, Ethan exhaled deeply. That was close. Lyra floated near him, her small hand brushing against his arm as she glowed softly. "You've saved us both," she said. "You, humans, are brave?" Ethan smiled. "We help each other. That's what matters." The crisis over, they returned to the sleeping quarters, exhausted but relieved. Lyra curled up on the bed, her small body glowing faintly. Ethan adjusted the blanket carefully over her. This time, when she shifted, she slid closer to him naturally, seeking warmth after the cold ordeal. He didn't move away, Instead, he stayed still, allowing her the comfort she sought. There was no fear, no misunderstanding, only trust. Ethan reflected on the events of the day. Humans had faced danger before, but the presence of someone relying on him, someone so small yet capable, made his courage feel more meaningful. He was not only fixing machines, he was protecting life, fostering a connection across species. Morning arrived, and Ethan awoke to find Lyra watching him with her glowing eyes. "Are you always awake when I sleep?" she asked softly. "Not always," Ethan replied with a small smile. "I just wanted to make sure you were safe." Lyra's glow brightened. "You. Humans care in ways I do not fully understand. You give warmth, not just to bodies, but to hearts." Ethan chuckled softly. "We try, but I think you give warmth too. More than you realize." Lyra hovered closer, her tiny hand brushing his again. There was no awkwardness, only mutual respect and understanding. The bond they shared was unusual, but in a station so far from home, it was natural. The next day brought a new challenge. A storm on the planet below caused electromagnetic interference, threatening the station's navigation systems. Ethan and Lyra worked side by side, repairing circuits and recalibrating sensors. The storm was fierce, lightning flashing across the planet's surface. But inside the station, their teamwork shone. Lyra suggested an alternative wiring route that Ethan had overlooked. "This path, it avoids interference," she said. "Try it." Ethan followed her advice, connecting circuits as she guided him. The interference decreased, and the station stabilized. He looked at her with surprise and admiration. "I underestimated you," he admitted. Lyra's glow pulsed softly like a blush. "I learned from you too," she said. "Humans, clever, adaptable. I admire this." That evening, after the storm passed, Ethan and Lyra returned to their shared room. The station was quiet once again, safe and warm. Lyra curled up against him naturally, seeking warmth after another day of challenges. Ethan felt a deep sense of pride not for himself, but for what humanity could offer. Courage, patience, and care, even in the most alien circumstances. "Do you? Humans always help strangers like me?" Lyra asked, her voice soft, almost uncertain. "Not always," Ethan replied honestly. "But we try. And when we do, it matters. Sometimes small acts can change lives, even across the stars." Lyra's glow brightened, filling the room with soft light. "Then, I am grateful. For you." Ethan smiled faintly, adjusting the blanket over her carefully. "And I am grateful for you too, Lyra. You've taught me something too. That even the smallest beings can be brave, clever, and kind." As they settled in for the night, Ethan realized how much the experience had changed him. Humans had traveled far into the galaxy, often alone. But moments like this reminded him of the true meaning of being human: empathy, courage, and the ability to connect with others. No matter how different, Lyra's soft glow filled the room, casting warmth on Ethan's face. He closed his eyes, feeling the quiet bond that had formed a bond of trust, mutual respect, and shared courage. Far above a cold, icy planet, two beings from different worlds had found comfort in one another, and in that quiet moment, Ethan understood something profound. No matter how vast the galaxy, humans had a light to offer that no machine or alien technology could replace. A light of warmth, bravery, and understanding. The station continued its orbit in silence. Stars reflecting off metal walls, but inside a small room glowed with life and trust. Ethan and Lyra had faced cold, danger, and uncertainty, yet together, they had built something stronger than fear: friendship, trust. In the quiet warmth of human courage reaching across the stars, Ethan adjusted the blanket once more. Glancing at the small alien beside him, her eyes were closed, her glow dim and steady. He thought about the day's events, the repairs, the storm, the dangers, and realized that all of it had mattered. Not for the machines, not for the station, but for the connection they had built. The stars outside would continue to shine. Distant and cold, but inside the room, a human and a small alien girl had created warmth that no galaxy could take away. And that was something worth more than any system repaired, any array fixed, or any station stabilized. It was trust, courage, and the quiet power of being human. Ethan stepped off the small shuttle and onto the quiet space station, his boots clicking against the metal floor. The station hovered in orbit above a gray, icy planet, and the cold light from the nearby sun reflected off the station's outer panels. He had come to repair a communications array that had been failing for weeks. It wasn't his first time on a station like this, but the emptiness made it feel strange. Only a few alien researchers had remained behind, and the corridors echoed with silence. As he walked down the hall, his toolkit slung over his shoulder, he noticed a faint glow coming from one of the side rooms. Curiosity pulled him closer. Peeking in, he saw a small figure, no taller than a child, hovering slightly above the floor. Her skin shimmered softly with bioluminescent patterns, and delicate wings fluttered against her back, though they were far too thin to lift her completely. She looked up and startled, her eyes wide and reflective, like liquid crystal. "Hello," Ethan said cautiously, raising a hand. "I'm Ethan. I came to fix the comms array." The girl hesitated, then floated closer. "I'm Lyra," she said, her voice a soft, musical hum. "The humans are here." "I thought only aliens stayed," Ethan smiled faintly. "We're visitors." "I'm here just for repairs." Lyra tilted her head, studying him. Her skin glowed slightly brighter with curiosity. "Repairs? You can fix machines humans don't even touch." Ethan chuckled. "I do my best." There was a pause. Lyra's small form floated toward the wall panel, tapping lightly at the controls. "We don't have enough quarters," she murmured, almost to herself. "Only one bed is ready." Because of the heating system failure, Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Only one bed?" "Yes," Lyra said quickly, her glow flickering with nervousness. "You can share the room, but I am small. I do not take much space." Ethan hesitated. He had expected isolated quarters. Sharing a room with an alien, especially one so small and glowing, was unexpected. But the situation was simple. He had nowhere else to stay, and the station's schedule left no choice. "All right," he said finally. "We'll make it work." Lyra's eyes brightened, and she floated back a few steps. "Thank you, humans." "Are larger than me, yes?" "Yes," Ethan admitted, with a wry smile. "Much larger?" The next few hours, Ethan worked on the communications array while Lyra hovered nearby, observing. She asked countless questions, each one filled with genuine curiosity. "Why do humans need sleep?" she asked. "Why do you eat cooked food instead of raw plants?" Her wings twitched in fascination as she spoke. Ethan explained patiently, sometimes laughing at her innocent wonder. It wasn't often that he met someone so genuinely interested in humans. Most aliens considered them noisy, inefficient, and fragile. Lyra, however, seemed to admire human ingenuity. Her questions were small, but insightful, often making him rethink simple tasks. As the day wore on, the station's temperature began to drop. Ethan noticed Lyra shivering slightly, even though she didn't have much body mass to begin with. "Are you cold?" he asked. "I tolerate cold poorly," she admitted. Her glow dimmed slightly. "It is dangerous if too long." Ethan frowned. "We should get you some warmth before you get sick." He rummaged through his toolkit and found a portable heater. Carefully, he positioned it near where she hovered, making sure it wouldn't overload the system. Lyra's skin glowed brighter almost immediately, spreading a soft warmth through the small room. When the repairs were finished, Ethan followed Lyra to the sleeping quarters. The room was compact, with a single bed pressed against one wall. The rest of the space was filled with storage cabinets and a small work table. Lyra floated to the bed's edge, her glow dimmer now that the lights were low. "I'm afraid of the dark," she admitted softly. "It feels unsafe. My species are weak at night." Ethan nodded. He understood the feeling all too well. "Then we'll keep the lights on, and I'll stay near the edge. You can sleep safely, Lyra hesitated, then slowly curled herself along the bed's edge. Her small body was delicate and almost weightless. Ethan adjusted the blanket lightly over her, unsure if it would do anything at all. She murmured a small thank you, her glow faintly illuminating the room. He sat on the bed's far edge, leaving enough space for both of them. At first, there was silence. Ethan thought about the unusual situation, sharing a bed with an alien, not for intimacy, but for safety and warmth. It felt strange, but he knew that trust was the important part. Hours passed, and Ethan drifted towards sleep. He was just beginning to relax when he felt a subtle shift. Lyra had moved closer, curling slightly against him, trying to feel the warmth he radiated. Her skin glowed softly, casting shadows that danced on the walls. Ethan froze, unsure of how to react. He didn't want to disturb her, but the closeness was unexpected. He reminded himself that she was frightened, that her species relied on warmth and trust from others in their early years. Slowly, he stayed still, allowing her to settle. "This is strange," he whispered to himself. But there was no fear in his voice, only a quiet wonder. The alien beside him was fragile, yet full of life and curiosity. In that moment, he felt a protective instinct he had never felt before. Outside, the space station continued its silent orbit. The stars reflected off the metal walls, but inside, a small glow radiated from Lyra, creating warmth and light that neither the heating system nor the repaired communications array could provide. It was a simple trust, a bond forming in the quiet of an abandoned station. Ethan couldn't sleep fully, but he watched her, noting the patterns of light along her skin. Each pulse, each flicker, was mesmerizing. There was no danger here, only the mutual understanding that they were both alone in this cold, distant place, and they needed each other's presence to feel safe. As the hours passed, the unusual closeness became natural. Lyra's small hand brushed against his arm, not intentionally, but as part of her shifting to stay comfortable. He felt a small smile tug at his lips. It was a moment of connection, quiet and innocent, but profoundly human. By dawn, Ethan had barely slept, but he didn't regret it. He had learned something important about trust and courage, not the kind that comes from weapons or strength, but the kind that comes from care, empathy, and understanding another being's fear. Humans were capable of it, he realized. So were aliens, in their own way. When the lights of the station's central corridor flickered on, Lyra stirred. She looked up at him, her eyes shining brighter now in the morning light. "Thank you," she said softly, "for warmth. For staying." "You're welcome," Ethan replied. He wasn't sure she understood the depth of what he meant, but it didn't matter. Trust and friendship weren't always about words. As they prepared to face another day on the cold, isolated station, both felt a strange comfort. They were far from home, surrounded by silence, yet together they had found warmth. The repaired communications array would soon send signals across the galaxy, but the quiet bond forming between a human and a small alien girl felt even more important. Ethan packed his toolkit, ready to continue his work, while Lyra hovered nearby, her wings twitching in subtle excitement. She had never met a human like him before. He was strong, clever, and kind in ways she hadn't expected. And for Ethan, she was more than just an alien. She was a small beacon of life in the lonely void of space. The story paused there, the quiet tension of trust lingering in the air. Neither spoke about the closeness in the bed, and perhaps they didn't need to. The bond had been formed quietly, without words. Without expectation, just simple warmth and shared understanding in a vast, cold galaxy. And as the stars outside continued to shine coldly, the small room glowed with soft light. The beginning of a connection that neither human nor alien had anticipated, but both silently welcomed.